Morning and good evening. Today we are going to take into account some of the important topics, important items that we come across in business law. Okay, I told you already that about the definition, and I told you about the essential elements of a contract. Now, some of the important items that we come across when we go for this business law. What are they? First one is just in sorry, not just consensus ad idem. Consensus ad idem. This is nothing but an Italian word. And what is the meaning of this? At the same time and in the same sense. At the same time and at the same sense. This is the meaning of the word consensus ad idem. Agreement regarding the subject matter should be in the same sense and at the same time. If there is no consensus ad idem, there is no contract. Okay, whenever two parties, when they are entering into a contract, they must be of the same sense, they must be of the same opinion, and at the same time, there should not be any postponement of time. That is, one person he makes the proposal, and the acceptor he will give his consent at another time. It should not be like that. Okay, consensus ad idem means at the same sense and at the same time. Then only you'll come across a contract. Otherwise, there is no contract. There won't be any contract. Example: A owns two horses, Rajhans and Hamsaras. Want to sell horse Hamsaras to B. B thinks he is purchasing Rajhans. Okay, there is no consensus ad idem and no contract. Okay, so this is the thing. A is having two horses, Rajhans and Hansaras, and he wants to sell Hansaras to B. Hansaras to B. That is, he has to tell that I want to sell this Hansaras, okay, horse to you, like that to B. But he didn't tell that. But he didn't told that. B thinks he is purchasing Rajhans. B is thinking that he is purchasing this Rajhan's horse. So there is no consensus ad idem. So hence there is no contract. For an agreement, there should be a legal obligation. There should be a legal obligation or duty. When you won't, when you go for an agreement, there should be a legal obligation or duty. Suppose if there is no duty or legal obligation, then it won't become a contract. It is a legal tie which imposes a definite person the necessaries of doing the necessity of doing or abstaining from doing definite act. Okay, it is a legal tie. The contract is nothing but a legal tie imposes a definite person. Okay, the necessity of doing or abstaining from doing definite action. You have to do something, or you have to tell that I'm going to do this. That is the meaning. Example: A agrees to sell his car to B for rupees 10,000. The agreement gives rise to an obligation on the part of A to deliver the car to B and on the part of B to pay 10,000 rupees. This is nothing but the legal tie between A and B. A agrees to sell his car to B. That is, it is the duty of the A to give the car to B. And for rupees 10,000, the agreement gives rise to an obligation on the part of A to deliver the car to B and on the part of B to pay 10,000 rupees. Then only you will come across an agreement, thereby you will come across a contract. Agreement may be social or legal. Already I told you that. Agreements are of two types: social agreement and legal agreement. Legal agreement will bind the persons. obligation or legal tie between the parties. Social agreement does not give rise to contractual obligation. They are not enforceable by law. So, social agreements does not give rise to contractual obligations or duties. Okay, so it is not said to be an agreement. It is not enforceable by law. Example: inviting a person to a dinner. This is nothing but a social agreement. Legal, legal agreement gives rise to contractual obligations and enforced by law. Okay, legal agreement, it binds both the parties. Now, after this, you have something. Okay, when you go for law, one thing you have to keep in mind is we'll come across the creation. Okay, law of contract creates jus in rem means a right against a thing, jus in personam a right against a person. Okay, jus in rem and jus in persona. It creates. What is jus in rem? Means a right against a thing. What is jus in personam? A right against a person. A right against a person. Jus in personam is available only against a specific person, whereas jus in rem is available at large. Okay, so which one will come and which one will be the next? Jus in personam is available only against specific person, particular person, whereas jus in rem is available to large. Okay, jus in rem means right against a thing. It is large. It won't take into account one thing only. It will take all the things. So these are the various things and important points that we have to know. Okay, when we are going for this. Okay, law. And in the last class, we are dealing with the types of contract, and in the middle, I just stopped that. Now we are going for that. Okay, when you take into account the performance of a contract, we can divide the contracts into two types. Already, I told you executed contract and executory contract. Executed contract means where the two persons fulfill their obligations. That is nothing but executed contract. Executory contract. Okay, here in this, okay, executory contract, both the persons they have to fulfill their obligations. And executory contract is also divided into unilateral contract and bilateral contract. Okay, unilateral contract and bilateral contract. Okay, sir, what is the example for the executed contract and what is the example? Okay, executed contract. Executed means that which is done. Executed contract is one which both the parties have performed their obligation. Okay, both the parties they will do their works or they will complete their duties. Example: A agrees to paint a picture for B for rupees 100. Okay, A agrees to paint a picture for B for rupees 100. That is, both the parties they perform their obligations. Executory contract. Executory means that which remains to be carried out. Which remains to be carried out. An executory contract is one in which both the parties have yet to perform their obligations. This is executory contract. Thus, executory contract may be unilateral contract or bilateral contract. In unilateral contract, what we'll come across? This is also known as one-sided contract. A contract is said to be unilateral where one party has may discharged his obligation either before or at the time of entering into contract. Unilateral contract. One person he will perform his obligation and the other person is yet to complete his obligation. Example: A permits a railway coolie to carry his luggage and place it in a carriage. Contract comes into existence as soon as the luggage is placed in the carriage. The railway coolie has fulfilled his obligation and A has yet to fulfill his obligation. See, a gentleman A permits a railway coolie to carry his luggage and place it in a carriage, in a compartment. Contract comes into existence as soon as the luggage is placed in the carriage compartment. Here, the railway coolie had done his work. The railway coolie has fulfilled his obligation and A has yet to complete his obligation. A has to pay him the money. Next, bilateral contract. It is also known as two-sided contract. It is one in which the obligation on the part of both the parties are outstanding at the time of the formation. This is also known as contracts with executory consideration. This is also known as contracts with executory consideration. Here, in bilateral contract, both the parties have yet to complete their obligations. This is about the classification of the contracts. Okay, now we are going one by one the essential elements of a contract. Okay, first one is offer. We are going one by one. Offer, acceptance, all these things we are going one by one. An offer is a proposal by one party to another to enter into a legally binding agreement with him. It is nothing but a proposal made by one party with another party to make him to enter into a contract. The person making the offer is known as offerer or promiser or proposer. The person to whom offer is made is known as offeree or promisee or proposee. You can call that. When the offeree accepts the offer, he is said to be acceptor or promisee. When the offeree accepts the offer, he is said to be acceptor or promisee. An offer may be expressed, that is, by words spoken or written. An offer may be implied from the conduct of the parties or by the circumstances of the case. It may be expressed, offer may be expressed or implied. Okay. Example, transport company runs a bus on a particular route. There is an implied offer by the company to carry passengers for certain fare. This is nothing but implied offer. Okay. When you come across by words spoken or written, it is nothing but an express contract. Implied contract by the conduct of the parties or by the circumstances of the case. A transport company runs a bus on a particular route. There is an implied offer by the company. Implied offer. It won't tell that. There is an implied offer by the company to carry passengers for certain fare. That is nothing but implied offer. Offer is of two types: general offer and specific offer. General offer and specific offer. What is general offer? When an offer is made to the world at large, it is called general offer. When you make an offer to the world, to all the people, without any differentiation, we'll call that thing as general offer. And is there anything that we can able to understand? There is an important case for this. That is nothing but the case is Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. This is the important case that everyone they will come across in offer. Okay. So what is the case and what is the judgment given by this? Carbolic Smoke Ball Carbolic Smoke Ball Company advertised in various newspapers that a reward of £100 would be given to any person who contracted influenza after consuming the smoke balls. Okay, it made an advertisement in the various newspapers that A reward of 100 pounds would be given to any person who consumed influenza, who contracted influenza by after using the smoke balls. According to its printed directions. According to its printed directions. Mrs. Carlyle, Mrs. Carlyle, okay, a person, used the smoke balls according to the directions of the company to the according to the directions of the company and contacted influenza. Okay, so Mrs. Carlyle, she consumed the smoke balls of the company as per the directions given, and she was affected by, she was influenced by influenza. She was affected by influenza. Now, what is the case? What is this is the case, and what is the judgment that we come to? Okay, the court had given the judgment that Mrs. Carl can recover the amount as by using the smoke balls she had accepted the offer. Okay, it is the duty of the company to pay 100 pounds to Mrs. Carlyle because she consumed the smoke balls and was affected by the influenza. Now, specific offer. Okay, when offer is made to a defined person, it is called specific offer. When offer is made to a defined person or a definite person, we'll call that thing as specific offer. Okay, this is about the types of offer that we come across. Now, there are again some features and essential elements of offer. What are they? First one is offer must be capable of creating legal relations. Okay, whatever it may be the proposal, whatever it may be the offer that you are making, it should create the legal relations. The legal relations it should create. If it won't create the legal relationships, it is mere waste to go for this offer. Okay, offer must be capable of creating legal relations. Second one, offer must be certain, definite, and not vague. When you are making an offer, it should be certain, it should be definite, and it should not be vague. Okay, it should not be vague. That is one time you saying that there is offer, and another time saying that there is no offer. It should not be like that. It should be certain and definite. Okay. No contract can come into existence if the terms of the offer are vague or loose and indefinite. No contract comes into existence if the terms of the offer are vague or loose and indefinite. Okay, forget about the offer. The terms also should not be vague. They should be certain. Both the parties should be clear about the legal consequences arising out of contract. That is, the person making the offer and the person who is accepting the offer, they must know the legal consequences arising out of the contract. Okay, both the persons they must know the legal consequences. Is there any case for this? Yes. Taylor versus Portington. This is a case that we come across when we go for this. Okay. Taylor versus Portington. What is the case and what is the judgment that we come across? A agreed to take B's house on rent for 3 years at the rent of £8 per annum, provided the house was put into thorough repair and drawing rooms were decorated according to present style. The offer was too vague to result in a contract. The judgment is, you see, what is happening is A agreed to take B's house on rent for 3 years. Everywhere you will come across a condition. Everywhere. A agrees to take B's house on rent for 3 years at the rent of £85. The rent is not increasing and the rent is not more. It is only £85 per annum. Per annum. It is not for per month. Per annum. Provided, okay, he is keeping the condition. Provided the house was put into thorough repairs. The house was put into thorough repairs, and the drawing rooms were decorated according to present style. This is the second condition that we come across. When you go for conditions in an offer, it won't become an offer, and it won't become a contract. Why? Because you see, the first thing is, okay, A is agreeing to give, A agreed to take B's house. A is agreeing to take B's house for rent for 3 years. Okay, and what is the rent that he wants to pay? He wants to pay 85 pounds per annum. It is not per month, please. So see the first condition. Okay, 85 pounds per annum. Okay, coming to the second condition, provided the house was put thorough repairs. Okay, all the people they won't do this. Okay, all the people or some house owners they will do that, but all the don't be of that opinion that all the house owners they'll do this. Okay, provided the house was put into thorough repairs and the drawing rooms were decorated according to the present style. Okay, then the house owner he will say that, you see, you are keeping so many conditions, and if possible, we'll do that. Otherwise, we cannot. So there is no necessity for you to go for this. Okay, so the offer was too vague to result in a contract. This is about the second thing that we come across. And the third thing, an offer may be different from a declaration of intention and an announcement. You see, when you are making an offer, you have to make that. You have to make that with other person. It should not be like an announcement or a declaration of intention. Declaration of intention or announcement is entirely different. Don't be of that opinion that they will be the offerer. Okay, an invitation to make an offer or do business, display of goods by a shopkeeper in a showroom with prices marked on them is not an offer but merely an invitation to public to make an offer to buy the goods at market prices. You see, in this context, I'm going to give an example. When you go for showrooms, I mean marketing, or when you go for shopping, you will come across so many shops, and the shopkeepers, what they will do is they'll display some items in the showcases along with the market prices. Okay, don't be of that opinion that the shopkeeper is making an offer. It is only an invitation to offer. Invitation to offer does not make an offer. Mind it. An invitation to offer does not make an offer. It is just only an invitation. He'll, he will display in his showcase and he will keep the market prices for that. It is just only an invitation, but don't be of that opinion that it is nothing but an offer. If you go and ask that person, okay, he won't take that from his showroom. He will take the commodity from his godowns or from his warehouse and he will give that, but he won't take the item from the showcase because it was kept as an invitation to offer. So that is the thing that we come across. An offer may be different from a declaration of intention and announcement. This is the thing. Okay, now remaining things I'll take in the next video class.